Well, you're in for a treat. I am too. We're going to get to hear Reverend Georgie. Come on up, please. Woohoo. Who I have known forever, just about, before she was a minister, yes. Secretary at Unity of Beaverton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, Barry. And so we have decided to do a dialogue. She's going to share about our history, and I'm going to share about your future. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes. The question she wants me to ask her is, what is the genesis of the building community that you used when you came to Salem?
Okay.
All right.
That's enough to start me off. Good morning, all of you. Good morning, you beautiful people. I love you. I love seeing those of you I haven't seen for a long time. Karen, Anna, and Rick. So nice to see you back again. Okay, what is the genesis of empowering people and building community? That's where we're going to start, okay? I don't know if you all pay too much attention to those words, but they're extremely important. Have been all through the 21 years that I was here. But let me tell you about its roots. Let me tell you where those 4 words came together, okay? This would have been, I came in 93. So this would have been about in 94. I was facilitating my first community building downstairs, and it was on a Saturday, and we were pretty well finished up. Mary Lou Craft was there. Any of you here remember Mary Lou Craft? Sure, some of you do. Mary Lou was the president of the board when I came. She was also the president of the search committee. She was also from my hometown, but not too many people knew that. But we didn't know each other at that time. So we finished up for the day, and I came upstairs. I was washing something in the sink upstairs, and Mary Lou came up, and she put her arm on my shoulder, and she said, "Georgie, I know who we are and what we do." And I stopped, I looked at her, and I said, "What, Mary Lou?" And she said, "We empower people and we build community." And in those 4 words, she gave to me, and we used for 21 years, an energy that became the flame in the belly, the beat in the heart, and the breath of a ministry for 21 years. But what do those words look like when they're put into physicality? And that's what I want to share with you this morning. Back in the late 80s, Scott Peck wrote a book called The Different Drum. Ed remembers it, okay? I was working, as Victoria just said, for Barry Knowles up in Unity in Beaverton. Barry got excited about the book. The book is all about community building. She got excited, so naturally I got excited too, and got the book, and I read the book, and it was a really intriguing concept that he was painting in this book. Now, this happens just after I got my calling from Spirit to become a minister, but long before I walked across that stage and received my ordination, okay? And I had a lot of classes I had to take, and a lot of credits I had to pile up and all that sort of stuff. So I was doing all of that, but there was one class I couldn't take from all the local ministers that I was twisting their arms to teach those credit classes, and that was a Bible class, and I had to go back to the village for that. So I said, okay, fine. So I went back for 2 weeks of CEP. Now, my rather naive idea was I was going to go back, take that Bible class, get my credits that I needed, grab that application, fill it out, and it was done, right? Well, you know, Spirit sometimes has different plans. As I was putting down the classes that I was going to take, I happened to notice that Reverend Adrian Dorfman, who just passed here at the end of September, was facilitating a community building class. Well, hey, now I could do that and really find out what this is about, what this experience is about, not just read the book. So I signed up for that right away. So the classes were like 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, for 2 weeks. Okay? So I found the class that I had to go into, and I went in there, and boy, it was a full class. There was about 38 or 40 people in that class. And everybody was sitting in a circle. So I found a seat, and I sat down. The way community building is structured is that there's kind of 4 main energies that show up. The first is pseudo-community. Everybody has their mask nicely in place, okay? And then when people get kind of tired of that, then we move to kind of a little bit of a chaos. Whoops, that's not fun. So we jump back into pseudo-community again. So eventually, the third step to the whole thing is emptying. And after emptying, you slide into genuine community, if you're lucky. So you start out in this big circle, and Adrian prayed us in, and then we just start in the silence. Just the silence. Well, people get uncomfortable with silence, don't they? So somebody spoke over here, and somebody spoke over there, and finally, Alan jumped up on his feet. He was a natural leader, and he grabbed a marker, and he went over to the whiteboard, and he said, okay, we're going to break up into smaller circles, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And Adrian, very quietly from her seat, she said, sit down, Alan. There is no leader. There is no leader in community building. So Alan put the pen down, sat down quietly. So we continued with our pseudo-community, maybe mixed a little chaos in, back to pseudo-community, and we did this for day after day after day. Okay. After about the third day, I have got so much stuff going on inside of me. Fear, anxiety, anger, what am I doing here? What made me think I wanted to become a unity minister? You know, all of it. And it doesn't just, when that belly full of stuff gets going, it doesn't just show up when you go to the class and you sit on it. It's through when you eat, when you sleep, all through the days. I would go into the Fillmore Grove. You remember the Fillmore Grove? I'd go in there and I'd affirm myself back up to my natural spiritual height, walk out of that grove and fall flat on my face again. I couldn't get rid of it. So now that's all the first week. Second week, we're going along. Finally, there's only 2 days left. Whoa, finally, okay? And I had a dream. And when I woke up in the morning, Spirit plainly said, you've got to speak, and you've got to tell them what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Oh, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. You want me to say what I've been thinking? I don't think that's a good idea. That's why you came. That's why you're here. So I said, well, okay, let's make a deal. I have to be the first one to talk, because if not, I'll lose my courage, and that'll be it. So we get in there, we pray in, start the silence, and somebody else spoke. Well, some wise part of me said, that's a bridge, jump on it. So I did. So I'm sitting there, and I jump on this bridge, and I said, I have to speak, and all of you have to listen. I don't like any of you. And I don't like being here. And I have been miserable for this whole time that I've been here. And what makes me think I want to become a unity minister? Forget it. I'm going to get on a plane and go home, forget this whole crazy nonsense. I talked for maybe 3 minutes. I don't think it was much more than 3 minutes. Silence. And then somebody started to clap. And then it went around the whole circle, and everybody was applauding. Okay, didn't expect that. Didn't know what to expect. Really didn't know what to expect. So the applauding stopped, and then over to my right, a lady started to speak with the tears rolling down her face. All the time that I've been here, my mother has been in the hospital because my father beat her up. Today she's being released and she's going back home to him. And somebody else spoke, and somebody else emptied, and somebody else emptied, and somebody else emptied. And the emptying continued for the next 2 hours with so much love and so much compassion. And the genuine community that is felt at that moment, the Holy Spirit is so palpable that it is just an incredible experience. I really don't have the words for it. So when the class was over and everybody was hugging everybody, up until then everybody was going out the door as fast as they could, but everybody was hugging each other, everybody was drying tears. It was incredible. And I was kind of standing to the side just watching, and Adrienne came up to me and she took me by the arm and she said to me, "You know what you've done, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, Adrienne, I know what I did." I had the courage at that time, when Spirit said it was mine to do, to actually start the emptying process, which took us into genuine community. Well, I have had a passion for Scott Peck's format of community building ever since then. When I arrived here in 93, I think it was 94, as I said, that I started it up here. And before I knew it, Diana was standing beside me, and we were doing practice sessions. You were in them, weren't you, Anna? Yes, we were doing practice sessions on a Saturday. We just put it out. We're going to do community building. Come and join us. And we usually worked in the bookstore. Sometimes we'd have 5. Sometimes we'd have 13, 14 people there. We always said if nobody showed up, we'd go get ice cream. But I don't think we ever got ice cream, did we, Diana? There was always somebody who came. Many people had a love-hate relationship with this particular format, this particular process, as you can imagine. But we kept it up. We kept it up over the years. And then I've spent so much time since we decided to do this, going back and thinking about this and realizing maybe for the first time just how that energy field, that substance of spirit, shifts its shape and begins to move into other things. Our teams, we had probably 17 teams by the time I retired. Teams for everything. But they were all having the blessing of this community building energy as they had a facilitator and the teams met together and everybody agreed on what was going to happen and so forth. And then our retreats. Diana and I did 2 retreats a year for many, many years, and a women's retreat in the spring, and then we did a co-ed retreat in the fall. And I remember the day that we looked at each other and we said, nobody seems to be scared on Friday night. Friday night people wonder, where am I going to sleep? Where am I supposed to eat? What time is the meals? And all that sort of stuff. That wasn't happening. As everybody arrived, they just kind of lined up at the deep end of the pool and jumped in. And no, there was no pool, but that's a metaphor. Because they felt that same energy, whether we were at the beach or the mountain. We took that energy of spirit, that love and that trust and that safety that we had built, that we had nurtured all those Saturdays that we continued to build community. Very consciously. Now, does that mean that everybody in the congregation attended a community building? No, they did not. But there was enough. There was enough to feed the energy. And that is what we did. Now, Don't think for a moment that I am up here trying to convince you to resurrect Scott Peck's community building. I'm not. It's hard. It's a hard format to follow. But what I want you to all know is that we're starting from ground zero here again to build this community. And that living energy is still very much in this room, very much here. I mean, yes. The very fact that the words, even though I've been gone for almost 10 years now, okay, the words are still here. They're on the back of your program, they're on our letterhead, and they're on the e-blast as well. The words, 4 words, are still here to say, I'm here when you're ready, when you're ready. And what I know is that Reverend Victoria, who pioneered her own church and has had many experiences with, not the same, but very similar to what I'm talking about, has got a lot of good ideas that she wants to share for the future. It's yours. Oh, you do? Oh, you sure you do?
No, it's right here. I'm already
Okay.
lost. I was so spellbound. Weren't you spellbound? Yeah. She was saying, oh my goodness. When I went to school, we didn't have Adrian, and we didn't have that opportunity. And I did learn about building community one step at a time, one church at a time. And finally, when I started my pioneer to ministry, it really became clear to me the way we identify with each other, and the experience of touching the heart makes every difference in the world. The first time I came here about a year ago, after being here in 86 and 87, I don't know how many of you know that I was the interim minister. The piano was over there. That door wasn't there. There were 2 bedrooms and a bath, and that's where I was. And it was a small crowd, and it got bigger and bigger, and then I moved on. In that time frame from the 80s forward, I've realized so many things I wanted to share with you. First of all, Georgie has been talking about your roots, and you have deep roots, deep spiritual roots. You did the work. You did the work. And now we're talking about the little green shoots. There's new shoots here. And what do you do when you have green shoots? You treat them tenderly. You give a little fertilizer, a little water. I talk to them when it's in my garden. And you begin to have a relationship with that plant, that idea, that is forming in your mind and in your community. When I first came here then, after all those years, 1 year ago, I noticed there was about half this crowd. And I noticed, though, that there were some bright lights here. I noticed Leslie. I noticed I said to her, you're a bright light. And I said to someone else, you're a bright light. I could see the bright light. And then I didn't speak here for another year, and then your minister was ill, and I came back, and there were more bright lights. And today, there are more bright lights. Is that you? Are you shining right now? Because the light in you, in me, in us, in the world, is who we are called to be. We're not called to be critical. Duh. We're not called to be pessimistic. We're not called to be fearful. We are called to be the light. Now that's big work. That is big work. And it's our work. It is our work. I told Georgie I was just at the Unity Ministers Retreat in Bend, and I had a great time. I traveled with my friend Cheryl Mays, through Biggs and all the way to Bend. Oh, what a ride. And we're there all day. I mean, we don't get to the hotel till 9 o'clock at night. We get in our hotel room, we turn on the hall light, and then we go to turn on the lamps, and they don't turn on. Do you know why they don't turn on? They're not plugged in. They save on electricity, I guess, and they don't plug in the lamps. And you have to plug in the lamps. And that is because you are plugging into the source. Now, that's what this is about. Our Sunday gathering is about plugging into the source. That's what I was taught in ministry. It isn't about quoting this and quoting that, although I may quote someone today. However, that ability to tune into the source is what Georgie was talking about when you're emptying. You empty the cares of your week. You empty the fears on your shoulders. You cleanse your mind, and you are present. You are present in the light. And the most beautiful thing in the world is to do it with others. Would you agree? To be in the light, in the consciousness. I can feel it right now. That is what unity is. That's what unity is. Do you remember the little song? You sang it months ago, I guess. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All the time. Now, there's my favorite verse. Do you remember the one? Don't put it under a bushel. No. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't put it under a mine. No. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't put it under a bushel. No. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Do you know where that phrase comes from? It's a parable of Jesus. Yes. It's a parable of Jesus. It's actually in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and in the Gospel of Thomas. It is also in many books of the Bible. So it's a teaching story. It's a metaphor for life. Don't hide your light. Now, in the biblical times, they're in the Middle East. It's desert, it's hot, and they would build large wooden buildings. And they were open air, and they had large poles dividing spaces. And those spaces created areas for maybe extended families or neighbors. And when it got dark, what did they put on the pole but a light? Now, they didn't plug it in. It was oil. It was some substance that they lit, and it lighted up the area. Now, we know they laid on rugs. They had all kinds of bedding, and they may have hung a sheet or some fabric down to have some privacy. And the light was up tall. Now, some people put a basket over their light and only use their light for their family. This is life. For thousands and thousands of years, people have been hiding their light. Physical light and spiritual light. So that's what I'm here to talk about today, is the future of this ministry is about your light and what you are going to do with that light. Are you willing to talk to someone that maybe you haven't talked to in a long time? Are you willing to sign up to be a greeter? Are you willing to be a volunteer? Are you willing to bring a friend? Are you willing to share your light? Thank you. I got a yes. Now, one yes out of 45 people, I'm just saying, I take a yes. So that ability to shine, that ability to see the best in people, the ability to hold out your hand. I've said all along while I've been here is I am a hand holder. That's my job here. I'm a hand holder. And I'm a cheerleader. I know you have potential. Do you believe that? This ministry has a potential to make an effect in Salem and beyond. Do you believe that? Yes. Woo, I get chills. This ministry, I'm saying it louder, has the potential to have a natural effect on yourselves in Salem and beyond. You have strong roots and you have fresh shoots. There's a song that keeps coming to me all week long. Now, I do not sing well, as you could tell. And I love music. That's one of the reasons I love being here and working with Angela and the singers. And the song that kept coming to me, this is Emptying, that we used to sing in the ministry in West Lynn with our wonderful gospel singer, LaRonda Steele. Some of you may know she's a very famous organ singer. And the song says, I pray for you. You pray for me. I pray for you. You pray for me. I want you to survive. I want you to thrive. The next stanza says the next thing. The next one says, I love you. You're important to me. I will not use words that harm you. I want to see you survive. I want to see you thrive. There may have been some words spoken here that were not the kindest. We want to move way beyond that and move into integrity and spiritual consciousness. I pray for you. You pray for me. Amen. I pray for you. You pray for me. I pray that you survive. And I pray that you thrive. Amen. I'm going to end with a quote. So I am speaking of connecting. Connecting is what has to occur here. Don't play shy. Praying for each other. That's where it starts. That is the outward and inward display of love. And what's the word that starts with an L-I-G-H-T? Light. This is not the right piece of paper. So I'm going to go on and just share with you what the quote is. The quote is about that we've all felt like we're going down a river. And some people don't believe in miracles. I don't understand. Oh. Here we go. Life is like a river, flowing through time and space, Sometimes it seems as though we are passing through fields of lush vegetation, while other times we may feel as though we are in the middle of a barren landscape. How we view these passages determines how we navigate them. We appear to be separate rivers, but we are more like currents, individually identifiable, but part of the whole ocean. We are streams of consciousness in the vast ocean of the good. And our words, our beliefs, and our intentions have power. What we believe about the territory through which we are passing becomes true for us. I'm going to say that again. What we believe about the territory through which we are passing becomes true for us. We know that whatever we are experiencing, whether we have named it good or bad, we are just passing through it. What is yours to create? Potential is power. And you have it in your hearts, in your minds, and in the light that you are. I believe in you. I care about you. And I pray for you. Bless you. Something happens down there. Meditation.
I asked Victoria if it'd be okay if I led you in the meditation. I want to go back to Scott Peck. He's got a wonderful story at the beginning of his book, and I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to read you the story, but you're going to take it into a meditative place. Some of you know exactly where I'm going, and some of you have heard this before. If you have, I invite you to hear it again for the first time. Okay? So let's take a little preparatory time here. Now you've had a lot of words delivered to you today, so let's go ahead and just close your eyes if that's comfortable. Put your feet flat on the floor if that's comfortable. Let's take a deep breath together, breathing in, and then release it, and feel your body relax. Okay, one more deep breath, breathing in. Breathe it out. Feel your body relax. And then just go back to your normal breathing. There is a story, perhaps a myth. Stories have many versions. Also typical, the source of the version I am about to tell you is obscure. I cannot remember whether I heard it or read it, or where or when. Furthermore, I do not even know the distortions that I myself might have made in it. All I know for certain is that this version came to me with a title. It is called The Rabbi's Gift. The story concerns a monastery that had fallen upon hard times. Once a great order, as a result of waves of anti-monastic persecution in the 17th and 18th centuries, and the rise of secularism in the 19th, all of its branch houses were lost, and it had become decimated to the extent that there were only 5 monks left in the decaying mother house. The abbot and 4 others, all over 70 years of age. Clearly, it was a dying order. In the deep woods surrounding the monastery, there was a little hut that a rabbi from a nearby town occasionally used for a hermitage. Through their many years of prayer and contemplation, the old monks had become a bit psychic, and so they could always sense when the rabbi was in his hermitage. The rabbi is in the woods. The rabbi is in the woods again, they would whisper to each other. As he agonized over the imminent death of his order, it occurred to the abbot at one such time to visit the hermitage and ask the rabbi if by some possible chance he could offer any advice that might save the monastery. The rabbi welcomed the abbot at his hut, but when the abbot explained the purpose of his visit, the rabbi could only commiserate with him. "I know how it is," he exclaimed. "The spirit has gone out of the people. It is the same in my town. Almost no one comes to the synagogue anymore." So the old abbot and the old rabbi wept together. And then they read parts of the Torah and quietly spoke of deep things. The time came when the abbot had to leave. They embraced each other. "It has been a wonderful thing that we should meet after all these years," the abbot said, "but I have still failed in my purpose for coming here. Is there nothing you can tell me, no piece of advice that you can give me that would help me save my dying order?" "No, I am sorry," the rabbi responded. "I have no advice to give. The only thing that I can tell you is that the Messiah is one of you." When the abbot returned to the monastery, his fellow monks gathered around him and asked, "Well, what did the rabbi say?" "He couldn't help," the abbot answered. "We just wept and read the Torah together. The only thing he did say, just as I was leaving, it was something cryptic, was that the Messiah is one of us. I don't know what that means." In the days and the weeks and the months that followed, the old monks pondered this and wondered whether there was any possible significance to the rabbi's words. The Messiah is one of us? Could he possibly have meant one of us monks here at the monastery? Well, if that is the case, which one? Do you suppose he meant the abbot? Oh, yes, if he meant anyone, he probably meant Father Abbot. He's been our leader for more than a generation. On the other hand, he might have meant Brother Thomas. Certainly, Brother Thomas is a holy man. Everyone knows that Thomas is a man of light. Certainly, he could not have meant Brother Eldred. Eldred gets crotchety at times. But come to think of it, even though he is a thorn in people's sides, when you look back on it, Eldred is virtually always right. Often very right. Maybe the rabbi did mean Brother Eldred, but surely not Brother Philip. Philip is so passive, a real nobody. But then, almost mysteriously, he has a gift for somehow always being there when you need him. He just magically appears by your side. Maybe Philip is the Messiah. Of course, the rabbi didn't mean me. He couldn't possibly have meant me. I'm just an ordinary person. Yet, supposing he did. Suppose I am the Messiah. Oh, God, not me. I couldn't be that much for you. Could I? As they contemplated in this manner, the old monks began to treat each other with extraordinary respect. on the off chance that one of them might be the Messiah, and on the off chance that each monk himself might be the Messiah, they began to treat themselves with extraordinary respect. Because the forest in which it was situated was beautiful, it so happened that people still occasionally came to visit the monastery, to picnic on its tiny lawn, to wander along some of its paths, even now and then to go into the dilapidated chapel to meditate. And as they did so, without even being conscious of it, they sensed this aura of extraordinary respect that now began to surround the 5 old monks and seemed to radiate out from them and permeate the atmosphere of the place. There was something strangely attractive, even compelling about it. Hardly knowing why, they began to come back to the monastery more frequently to picnic, to play, and to pray. They began to bring their friends to show them this special place, and their friends brought their friends. And then it happened that some of the younger men who came to visit the monastery started to talk more and more with the old monks, and after a while, one asked if he could join them, and then another, and then another. So within a few years, the monastery had once become a thriving order, and thanks to the rabbi's gift, a vibrant center of light and spirituality in the realm. Now, as you take those words in, and you remember everything that Reverend Victoria said about the light in the center of each and every one of us, take this thought in. You most certainly are the Messiah. You are the Christ. The Spirit of God lives within each and every one of you in this room. Never forget that. No matter where you go or what difficulties you may find along the way, there is no place where you can be where that Spirit of the living God is not within you. Amen. And now just take a nice deep breath. Make sure you can feel yourself sitting on your chair. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes.